the third session of this fourth day on faculty development program on electrochemical energy conversion and storage. And today we have with us Dr. Ashwini Sharma, who is assistant professor in Department of Chemical Engineering, IIT Roorkee. We have already listened to him yesterday, and now we'll have got another opportunity to listen to him, and he'll talk on electrical batteries, electrical vehicles, and a few more things. So over to you, Ashwini. Ashwini, can you unmute yourself?
Okay, thank you very much. So I'll thank you, Amit.
Thanks a lot. Thanks.
Yeah, I'm keeping my the video off, okay, so that they can better hear me. Otherwise, when I switch on the video, I think the things will be lost around.
That's appropriate. Thanks a lot.
So the screen is shared, I think. Can you confirm this?
Yes, screen is shared. Even we can see the presentation as well.
Okay. So good afternoon all, and I hope all of you are having a good time with this course. Amit has nicely organized this, and like a lot of has been covered on both fuel cell and batteries, right? Those are the two electrochemical power sources that we were focusing on in this FDP program. So I'll take this opportunity in this way that here in today's presentation, we will be focusing on application of these electrochemical power sources, because you have learned a lot about batteries, fuel cells, several concepts about them, their thermodynamics, their modeling, their manufacturing, all of that you have listened to. But this is an important topic, that how these electrochemical power sources, they are in applications, or what applications for which they are already in use, or for what application we can visualize them in the future. So that is the focus, or that is the theme of today's presentation. Specifically, we will be talking about the electric vehicles, because that is what fascinates all of us, right? Whenever we hear about Tesla or a fuel cell vehicle, so that is what fascinates us. So that's why I intend to keep this presentation on more on the application of electric vehicles, where these both fuel cells and batteries, right? Both of them we can use for making electric vehicles. Both of them gives you electricity, and the electricity which we can use for driving the powertrain or the motor of the vehicle and the wheels finally. So let us start, and in this start, let us look around a basic architecture or the basic structure of a fuel cell and battery. So we are only looking at the single cell. So this is already a lot of talk has been done in this, but I'll just take a moment to cover this. Okay. So fuel cell is basically an energy conversion device where hydrogen and oxygen we can supply continuously on the electrode. Okay, and both the electrodes, the reactions takes place, and then due to the electrochemical reactions, we can think of the production of electricity. Okay, and this electricity is basically used for the purpose of driving any electronic device, or in this case, electric vehicle. Similarly, if we take batteries, there is a slight difference. Here in the fuel cell, we cannot store the energy. We can only convert the energy. That means we can supply the hydrogen and oxygen and we can get the electricity. But the batteries differ in this way, that here I can store the energy also. I can charge the batteries, right? We can charge the batteries. There are secondary batteries that we can charge. So that's how this basic difference is there. Okay, and we have to be very careful about this basic difference whenever we talk about like which one is more suitable for our application. So here I have shown you the basic I'm showing you the internal working, so shown you the more on the electrodes. But we know that in reality, when the actual our uses, there we need lot of power and maybe multiple of voltages. Okay, for example, a fuel cell, it gives you a single volt, right? 1.23 volt is the maximum or the thermodynamic potential of the device, right? If now I think of the actual applications here, maybe hundreds of volts are required. Similarly, the power is not like we require a lot of power to drive the real application. So then what we need to do in case of the fuel cell, we have to stack them, right? So here the single cell is shown you and a stack is shown here. So this can be a bipolar stacking, or there could be some other architectures are also there to stacking the fuel cell. Similarly, on the batteries, we have multiple cells. So we can take multiple cells because single cell definitely will not be sufficient to for our application. So what we need to do, we need to put a lot of cells together. I think Prof. Akhil has talked about this regarding the battery module design and battery pack design. So we have to put a lot of cells in series and parallel to make the battery modules and packs. Okay, and that's how we can really power the real application that we have around us. So both fuel cell and battery, we have to go from all the way to electrode level, from the electrode level to the application level. So there are a lot of engineering challenges in between. So it is not sufficient that we work only on the material level or the electrode level. Rather, a lot of system engineering is required when you take a single cell and when you take it to the application level. So that is again another interesting research area people are working on. So when we are discussing the real applications now, the focus of this presentation of the applications. So when we think about an application, there are two major quantities. One is the power and the second is the energy. How much power you require for a particular application? How much energy you require for a particular application? Right. So what is the difference between this power and energy? So you can think of in this way that let's take the basic definition of power and energy. So energy means capacity to do work. What is the total capacity to do work, right? And the power is at the rate at which the work is done. So in context of now, if you think in context of I take simply an electric vehicle. Okay, so the total distance that is covered, that the fuel cell, that the vehicle can cover, that will translate into the total amount of the energy required. Okay, total distance that will translate into the total energy required. How much total energy you should have on board to go up to the certain distance. Similarly, if you talk about the power, where the power comes in the play, that because you need to accelerate the car, or right. So how much acceleration you can achieve in a minimum time. So that gives you the power, how much power you should have. Okay, so in terms of both in fuel cell and now if you think in the terms of fuel cells and the batteries, in context of fuel cell, it is energy means amount of fuel that you have stored or that you have on board. In context of batteries, it is the amount of storage material or amount of the you have. If you think in the for power means how much surface area is available there for electrochemical reactions, right? The rate of electrochemical reactions, they are surface reactions, right? So if you have higher surface, right, the higher current can be generated, right? And that's how the high it can be you can convert into more power. Now, if you compare both fuel cell and batteries, we will be not talking about any specific batteries here, but because I think all of you have amazed with the lectures from Prof. Yogesh, where he was talking about different kind of batteries and like what batteries can perform better, right? So here we are not talking about any specific battery, but you can see all the batteries are here. Okay, nickel, cadmium, sodium, sulfur, lithium ion, lead acid batteries, all those batteries are here. So you see all of these batteries, they are much behind than the fuel cell if you talk about in terms of energy density. Energy density means how much energy is there in 1 kg weight. Okay, so in context of fuel cell, if we are talking about fuel cell, we are talking about the energy density on the order of thousands. Whereas in the lithium ion, if you are talking or that is the best of these batteries. Okay, so highest energy density. So here we have only up to the level of 100, on the order of 100 we have, right? Now, if you talk about in terms of power, definitely the batteries and the supercapacitors, they perform better than the fuel cells. So whenever you think about a fuel cell application, probably that will be coupled with a lithium ion battery or other battery or a supercapacitor, because fuel cell cannot give you like if you want a push of power suddenly, that probably you cannot get with the fuel cell. So here you need to couple it with the other power sources, for example, the batteries or the capacitors. So that is how the specific energy or energy density and the power density, those comes into play whenever we whenever we are thinking of an application of these power sources in our real life. So now let us discuss more about the energy and power in context of both fuel cell and batteries. So in fuel cell and batteries, specifically in this slide, it is shown for the fuel cell. So here you see that power and energy, we can say they are decoupled. So what does we mean by power and energy? They are decoupled. So if I want to increase the energy, then what I can do, I can just increase the hydrogen tank size. I need not to do anything with the stack. Simply I can increase the size of the tank and I can increase the energy content in the system on our application. Okay, but and on the same side, if I want to increase the power, right, I need not to do with anything with the energy. Here is the energy, so I need not to do anything with the energy. Rather, what I can do, I can simply put more cells, or I can increase the surface area of these electrodes. Okay, and this is how I simply can increase or change the power of the system. So here is the power of the system and here is the energy of the system. So two things are completely decoupled if you think of the of fuel cells. So that is what the basic advantage of the fuel cell. If I now coming to an application, if I want to run an application for a longer time, I don't need a larger stack. Rather, I can simply need a larger tank, right? So there is no dead weight here. Though no dead weight will come up if I increase the energy. So that is the beauty of fuel cell. Now, if you think about the batteries, here the power and energy, they are coupled. Because we know where is the energy is stored. Energy is not stored outside the battery. Energy is stored on the electrode itself. And we have the surface area for the reactions also on the electrodes. So both energy and power, they are coupled in batteries. If I want to increase only the energy content, okay, what I need to do, I need to add the more number of cells. Okay. And what happens then? I will end up with larger and heavier battery packs. Okay. So in the case of the fuel cell, when we were requiring more energy, it's not that we increase the size of the stack, but in case of battery, if you need more energy, you have to increase the size of the pack. So that is the basic difference between the if you think about the fuel cell and batteries in context of power and energy. So this discussion is, I think, I hope is enough for when we are going for application level for now. So let us think about what applications there are actually we can think of for these power sources. So definitely, whenever we think about these electrochemical power sources, the first application that comes in our mind is electronics, your phone, your laptop, right? And all these portable electronics, they require a power source, and the electrochemical power sources, especially the batteries, that fit in very nicely, right? You come to portable power tools, right? These kind of tools are required maybe in industry, maybe in your garden, in your household tasks. So not always you will be having electricity at your disposal. Okay, so in that case, maybe battery and fuel cell can do the job for you. Coming to another application, space application that are not new for both fuel cell and batteries. NASA, like the American Space Agency, it is exploring the uses of fuel cell in space since 1950, right? And if you think about the General Electric that developed the first first PEMFC, right? And that was further improved in collaboration with NASA, and they were planning to use in Gemini 5 space program in 1965. So that like it is so old that we are like from that time we are having these application of fuel cell and batteries. And if you come to defense and military applications, both fuel cells and batteries, they are being used or they are being explored for applications such as portable systems, small vehicles, for the communication in the military, for marines application, for example, submarines and some other underwater vehicles. Similarly, unmanned aerial vehicles. These applications, all applications we have. Coming to space, stationary power, that could be another application, right? Currently, we have centralized power station, right? Electricity is being produced at the power plant and then it is supplied to our homes. With renewable energy, what will happen, like the solar and wind, if the picks up nicely, they are already picking up. We can think of small distributed power plants. So, for example, a community or a big colony of houses, they have their own power plant. And if that happens, these fuel cell and batteries, the electrochemical energy conversion and storage, they can facilitate these kind of power plants, right? You can store the excess energy and supply in case of shortage of energy. And this is possible not only on a small scale, but also on the large scale power plants where you are thinking of the big solar parks, maybe for the energy storage, because we cannot directly input the solar energy or any renewable energy in the grid because it will make the grid unstable. So in that case, definitely the electrochemical power sources can work as the buffer. Similar to space applications, now the transportation is also not new for electrochemical power sources. Don't think that it is a new for electrochemical power sources. Electric vehicles, or especially the battery powered electric vehicles, they have been conceptualized way back in 1800 and 1900, that time. But what happened with the production of internal combustion vehicles in 1900s, and then the crude oil, a lot of crude oil was found and the EVs were lost. So that happened with the EVs. However, now they are back because why? Because we are facing the issues of depletion of fossil fuel. And also we know that when we burn these fossil fuel, now what is happening with the environment? A lot of environmental pollution and the climate change. So definitely the transportation is one of the important application of these electrochemical power sources, where these power sources can jump in and can fit in our purpose. So that is the most important. That is the most important reason, because the energy, environmental pollution and the climate change, we have to think about the clean power sources. And all the countries around the world, they are focused on mitigating the effects of climate change. And getting rid of these greenhouse emissions, that is the top focus of each and every country around the world. So we know that when you are thinking of these greenhouse gases, and you can see the same in this graph, the transportation sector, that is a great place to start, because it is responsible for, you see, around 28% of the greenhouse gases. The data is taken from the United States, but this might be valid for all other countries. around the world. So, but it is taking such a big chunk of these greenhouse gas emissions. So that's why maybe the transportation sector is one of the avenue where this electrochemical power source can quickly take in and can help us to reduce the greenhouse gas emissions. So these we know that now these greenhouse gases in the transportation, we can think of our cars, the trucks, ships, trains, planes, everything's like all starting from the cars or from the scooters all the way to the aeroplanes. Everywhere we know that the fossil fuels are being burnt and they are contributing to the greenhouse gases. And over 90% of these vehicles, they are mostly petroleum based, like gasoline or diesel based, these vehicles are. So now question comes, this is very important question now. We are thinking that these power sources the electrochemical power sources, both fuel cell and batteries, they can jump in for the transportation. But the most important question is fuel cells or batteries, which one, right? We can see that the companies like Honda, Hyundai, Toyota, all of them, they are having their they are producing fuel cell vehicles. They are also producing battery vehicles. So which one? So in short, I will be calling this is the fuel cell electric vehicle, and another is battery electric vehicle. So which one should we choose? Fuel cell electric vehicle or battery electric vehicle? That is the question of the hour. So there are all these automakers, they are actively working to on these vehicles, but the question, there is no agreement that how to do it, whether we should go for FCEV or BEV. Some prefer battery electric vehicles, while others, they are thinking that the hydrogen fuel cells are the champion for the zero emission transportation. So that is the question. Now let us think about, or let us explore more about both the mode of these transportation, battery and the fuel cell. So starting with this well to wheel, right? Well is our crude oil storage, from where we get the crude oil wells, and from there to all the way to wheels. So gasoline is taken from the well, and then we are refining the gasoline, okay, and you are converting the suitable fuel, going into fuel filling station, and then it is coming to the fuel tank of your car, and finally it is converted to kind of energy, rotational energy for the wheels. That is happening in an internal combustion engine that we are currently driving. Now what will happen if I have a electric vehicle? So let's start with the battery electric vehicles. So in the battery electric vehicle, this is going to happen. We will be starting definitely with some form of energy. Currently, we know that this electricity that we are using in our homes, that is being produced by the gasoline or coal, right? But in the future, we are thinking of renewable energies, solar, wind, hydro, atomic, all these we are thinking about. So here, once we have the electricity, in the case of battery electric vehicle, we simply put the charger and the energy is stored in the batteries, and later we can use it for the driving of the vehicle. So it has a simpler structure as compared to fuel cell. If you see the fuel cell, this happens. So first you have the source of energy. You do the electrolysis, because we need hydrogen in case of fuel cell. So we have hydrogen storage, and we have electrolysis for the production of hydrogen. And then we have to, because hydrogen, we know that definitely we have to compress it or liquefy it, otherwise it's huge in volume. So hydrogen storage comes in. You have to definitely transport this hydrogen to the filling stations, and from filling station it will come in your car, hydrogen tank, right? And then you have the fuel cell stack, which can convert into the energy or the driving energy for the wheels. You see that battery is still an integral part of the fuel cell electric vehicles, right? And why it is required? Because we have some issues with the fuel cell when during the startup, and also if there is energy, like we have some regenerative braking that can be stored in batteries, right? So it can assist the fuel cell whenever needed. Okay, especially during the startup, it can help. If we have talked about the power requirement, right? The battery has a higher power density, or it can provide you higher power. So if you are in a sudden acceleration mode, maybe the power drive shifts to get the energy from the battery. Okay, so that's how we can see the battery is an integral part, even if you are talking about the fuel cell electric vehicles. So this is how the architecture or the well to wheel arrangement think of when we are talking about battery electric vehicle or fuel cell electric vehicles. Let us think about this before we make any conclusion. Let's look at the similarities of battery electric vehicle and the fuel cell electric vehicle. Both of them, they share many similarities. Most importantly, they are based on electric powertrain, right? You need a same powertrain for both of them. That is the electric powertrain. Electricity is the output of both of the power sources, and that basically that rotates the motor to roll the wheel. And both of them, they have the minimal moving parts, thus they do not create any noise and any disturbance for the driver. And with the EVs, we can certainly imagine zero pollution on the road, right? At least on the road, we can imagine that is zero. Certainly the pollution will be there in the power plants, right? The pollution will be there in the power plants. Why? Because you need to produce the electricity to charge the battery, or you will be producing the hydrogen. Hydrogen, as of now, we are producing just from the steam reforming of these gasoline fuels or the fossil fuels. Anyways, both the fuel cell and batteries, they provide us the opportunities to be like, we can couple them with the renewable energy sources, and thus we can visualize the true zero emission transport. Right. As of now, today, we can think of like it's not completely zero emission, but in the future, when the renewable energy sources picks up, we can think of zero emission transport with both of them. That is the key point. If we do a full comparison, because we have seen only the similarities, now if we see the differences also, this is how it looks. So where the battery electric vehicles you have on this side, okay, and this side you have the fuel cell electric vehicles. It is not noted, so maybe I can note it there. This is a battery electric vehicle, and this side is you have the fuel cell electric vehicle. Okay, so you see that the advantage for batteries is, the first is you have the high well to wheel efficiency that we are going to see this, that how it is a high well to wheel efficiency. Okay, but the most important or the advantage that a customer can see is the low cost, right? If you go to the market to buy an electric vehicle as of now, you will see that the battery electric vehicle is much cheaper as compared to the fuel cell electric vehicle. Right. Similarly, if you think about the infrastructure, that means if I want to charge the battery, right? If then I have already some infrastructure in the form of the household electricity supply, so that can be used for this purpose. But as compared to battery electric vehicles, now fuel cells suffers from these two fronts. That first of all, it is definitely higher cost-wise, it is expensive than the battery electric vehicle, and secondly, you don't have enough we don't have the required infrastructure for fuel cell vehicles. But we have some advantages also, right? So these are the advantages. First of all, when you are having a battery electric vehicle, you will be requiring a lot of time to charge the batteries. In case of fuel cell electric vehicle, this can be much faster. It can be similar to the cars that we are using today with the diesel cars or the petrol car, that we can just go to a hydrogen filling station and within 2 or 3 minutes our tank can be full, right? And we can drive on. The second thing is we can drive further. That means if you are thinking of a long range vehicles, if you are thinking of going 500, 600 kilometers or more than that, then probably the battery electric vehicles is not the solution. When we are thinking of the battery electric vehicles, we have to limit in the range of maybe 300 kilometer or 400 kilometer. That's what the most advanced battery electric vehicles that you are hearing about the Tesla, that is what it is providing you. So the reason we will be definitely discussing about why the range of these battery electric vehicles is limited. We will be discussing that on. And the other disadvantage or advantages of both types that we are seeing here, we will be discussing them in detail in the further in the presentation. But here we can summarize in this, that the cost and infrastructure, the battery electric vehicles scores over the fuel cell vehicles. And if you think of range and refueling time, the fuel cell electric vehicles, they will score better than the battery electric vehicles. Now the question is how, or question is how the cost and infrastructure is better for the battery electric vehicles. Similarly, this is the question, that how this is better for fuel cell electric vehicles. So let's start. First, we start looking at the well-to-wheel efficiency again. So we can think of, definitely there are a lot of differences between both the battery electric vehicles and the fuel cell electric vehicles. They have their own challenges also. But when we are thinking of zero emission vehicles, definitely we can visualize both fuel cell and batteries. So how? Let us look at the scenario that how it is possible with either the lower emissions or zero emissions. So let's first start looking at the lower emissions as compared to the internal combustion based vehicles. So here the fossil fuels, we can think of the scenario where the fossil fuel is the source of energy. That is the current scenario where the fossil fuel is generally the source of energy. So here it is shown that how much energy, if I take 100 joules of energy, right? What is the measure of, or what is the unit of energy? That is joule. So if I have 100 joules of energy, and that is, I started with a crude oil of 100 joules, then what happens when I reach the wheels, okay, I'll be left with only 10 joules of that energy, where the rest 90% is lost, because first this crude oil is subject to refinery, right? When you go to a refinery, definitely a lot of operational and a lot of capital cost is involved. Refining is not for free. Once you have refined, you have to deliver it to the different your stations, your filling station. So it comes down to 70%, and the rest is lost because we know that the internal combustion engine is not so efficient. The Carnot efficiency you have heard about, right? So there the rest, this 60% of this is lost. Now, similarly, if we come to now for the battery electric vehicles, what is going to happen, that refined oil, and then what is happening, that we need to go to the power plant. Here, why this energy loss is less? Because you don't need so much of refining for the power plant. If you are thinking of these vehicles, internal combustion engine vehicles, they are either the diesel or the petrol combustion engines. So here you need more or accurate refining, because you don't want to choke your engine. But in this case, we are just burning the fuel for producing the heat. So much of refining is not required. So that's why the heat losses or the loss in the energy is less. Once we reach the power plant now, so this is going to happen that we will be ending with only the 34 joules of energy. So here we have lost approximately 68 joules of energy. And when we reaches the wheel, we have almost, if you think of the former rechargeable battery like nickel cadmium and others, then we will be ending with 18 joules. But in case of lithium ion battery, that's where it scores higher, that 22 joules of energy you can transmit to the wheels all the way. If you have 100 joules of crude oil, then you can transmit to 22 joules of energy here. So you can think of that how now at least we have the double efficiency as compared to the internal combustion based engines, right? So that is the advantage of these electric vehicles. Now let's compare both battery electric vehicles and the fuel cell electric vehicle on the similar concept. On the similar concept, we will be comparing them. So let's see how does it look like. So here I'm comparing both the battery electric vehicles and the hydrogen electric vehicles or the fuel cell electric vehicles. So we are starting with, let's say here for the simplification, we are not starting from the crude oil. We are starting from the renewable energy. Let's say I have 100 joules of renewable energy. Okay, if I have 100 joules of renewable energy in the then it will be, first of all, it will be going to transportation. We have to transmit the energy from one place to another place. Maybe some storage is also required because we will be having the charging stations. So some energy is lost here, right? But you see that almost 70 to 90% of the energy that we started with here has reached the wheels. Okay, so overall efficiency for this battery electric vehicles is around 70 to 90% or 70 to 18% we can think of. Okay, it means that about 3/4 of the electricity that was generated by the grid is actually applied to the real propulsion, right? Real movement of vehicles, real rolling of wheels. So if you think of now the hydrogen powered e-cars or hydrogen powered electric vehicles, what is going to happen here? The losses are much greater here. Okay, only 25 to 35% of the energy like that we started from with it actually makes to the wheels. Okay, why? Because immense amount of energy was it was sacrificed or it was lost when we produced hydrogen through electrolysis. Electrolysis is the most common current method that we use for production of hydrogen. Okay, only only 55% of that energy is represented by usable hydrogen. We started with 100, but due to the electrolysis, we lost. It is not so. The electrolysis is not so efficient as compared to batteries. So of the remaining energy now, we are again losing some energy here. After the electrolysis, we are going to compression and liquefaction of the hydrogen gas. Then we are again losing the energy. And finally, when we have the fuel cell and power generation, definitely fuel cell is also not 100% efficient, right? It is also again maybe the max we can think of like 60% efficient it is. So overall, if we see, we can think of that a fuel cell electric vehicle achieves an efficiency of 25 to 30%, 35%. Okay. Any questions?
During electrolysis, how much percentage is lost to the heat?
Electrolysis.
Yes.
Yeah, we can think of approximately 40%.
Okay, so that's why this is not very energy efficient.
Yeah, it's not so energy. Electrolysis is not so energy efficient. Electrolysis is not a new technology. We are using it for years, right? But still, it's not energy efficient. So that's why when you are seeing the challenges here, you can figure out what are the research topics we can think of if we are working on battery electric vehicles or the fuel cell electric vehicles. Definitely, material is one thing. Okay, but on the system level, we have these challenges. That's what the objective of making this presentation.
Thank you.
Okay, so if overall, if you think the hydrogen fuel cell vehicle, that will require 2 to 3 times more energy to drive the same distance. As the overall, if we take only this consideration of this efficiency, well to wheel efficiency, okay, if we take that only in the consideration, please mind it, only if we take well to wheel efficiency or only if we look on the papers, then we can think of that a hydrogen fuel cell require 2 to 3 times more energy. So they will definitely hydrogen fuels will remain, or if you produce hydrogen fuel here hydrogen fuel is produced, so it will be definitely more expensive than the driving and battery electric vehicles. And the reason is simple, that we need more energy to produce the hydrogen vehicle hydrogen as compared to the electricity and charging. So that is the one of the biggest drawback if you think of the fuel cell electric vehicles, that production of hydrogen is not so efficient, and even when we convert the hydrogen in fuel cell, that is also not an efficient process. Efficiency is definitely a concern if we compare fuel cell electric vehicles and battery electric vehicles. Other drawbacks. So these are the other drawbacks. The first comes the cost. right? If you are in USA and if you want to buy a fuel cell electric vehicles, or that will become, I checked the prices actually today. I had a guess, but I want to quote the exact prices. So it is around maybe 58 or 55 to 60,000 for a fuel cell vehicle. Okay. For the same company, if I take the case of Toyota, and if you buy the similar kind of vehicle, considering let's say Toyota Camry, so it will come around maybe 25,000 US dollars. So you can think of the difference, the price difference. So how it can then compete, or how you can motivate a customer to buy the fuel cell electric vehicle. So that is the biggest disadvantage, right? Customer first see the cost. Similarly, from the customer point of view, we don't have the infrastructure, right? It is really, if you see, it does not exist at all, neither to produce hydrogen nor to compress, transport, or sell, right? So even if you think of if you start, it will be much expensive than the existing electricity infrastructure or the gasoline supplying the gasoline or diesel infrastructure. So that is the few disadvantages or the important disadvantages we have figured out: efficiency, cost, and infrastructure for fuel cell electric vehicles. Electric vehicles did a better job here. What they did, they exploited the already available infrastructure, right? We already have electricity in our houses. And what happened? Their growth, they went through their own growth. Okay, over the time it happened. Like last year, we have seen that the cost of the batteries that has come down, okay, significantly actually. And if the volumes goes up, the volumes of these batteries, the cost we can think of further decrease, right? So scale of economies comes in picture here. When you produce something at larger quantity, then the cost automatically comes down. So if you take that in picture, so this is what is happening for, we take a specific kind of battery, that is a lithium ion battery, and that is currently used in the battery electric vehicles. So you can think of when we were in 2015, the prices were around $400 per kilowatt hour. Yeah, you remember the kilowatt hour is our energy. Okay, so if I need 1 kilowatt hour, maybe I need to pay, or when I buy a battery, it will be worth of $400. But if you think of 2018 or 2020, we are less than the half. So that is what is happening with the batteries. So if you want to go now, if you go to a market and buy an electric vehicle, maybe it is not so expensive as compared to fuel cell, or if it is not, it might be much closer to an internal combustion based vehicle. So currently, maybe if you compare in US dollars, you can go up to the 30,000 in that kind of range. So that is what is good for the battery electric vehicle. So the fuel cell electric vehicles, we have the advantage of range, right? We have talked about that we can go for a larger range. Okay, because here what we need to do, we can just fill the tank, and the energy density of hydrogen, it is so high as compared to the battery. And also another advantage, we have the fast refueling. But all these advantages that of range and the fast refueling, they are getting they are shrinking. And why they are shrinking as compared to batteries? Because batteries are getting more energy dense, they are getting more cheaper in the market. And moreover, we don't have for fuel cells, we don't have a refueling infrastructure. So from every angle of we think of the environment balance sheet now, things speaks more in the favor of a battery powered vehicle if you think of passenger car. Okay, the battery technology is mature in the form of lithium electric vehicles, although there are challenges, but still it is a mature technology. It is ready for the mass market. Okay, if you see the number of battery, the car models, they are growing, they are steadily, you can see more and more battery powered vehicles are coming in market. Okay, so that, and also the driving remain affordable because the government is providing so much incentive. Right, and if you think of the cost per kilometer for a battery powered vehicle, it is much less. And as I said, it is available at the same price of, or almost on the same price tag as compared to the combustion engine models, whatever the models. But in contrast, the hydrogen car is much more expensive. Okay, and the reason is the complex technology and again the high fuel cost. If you are thinking of hydrogen, it's not so cheap, right? So now the topic of long distance travel, then how we can, if we have a passenger car with a battery, then how we can go for long distance, that is a challenge. So that will, like, as I said, for the prices, similarly the energy density of the batteries is also over the time we are improving it, right? So today it is only maybe 120 watt hour per kg, but next few years we can think of like 500 watt hour per kg. If a battery energy density goes up, then maybe we can drive up to 400-600 kilometers a vehicle. And the charging, that it is all like the faster charging, that will also come in the picture over the time we are going to improve it. So in this case, the conclusion is more or less, we can think of that it is clear, and it is also in the figures. If you take the case of Germany, here you can think of 130,000 cars, battery cars are on the road, but only 500 hydrogen cars are on the road. So things are more in the favor of battery electric vehicles if you think of the passenger car. Okay, so now still, like, if we have this clear-cut picture here, but still you see that both the automobile manufacturers, there are some countries also, they are still thinking of, they are still researching, they are still pushing the fuels electric vehicles. There should be some reason, right? Nobody is a fool if they are investing their money. So Honda, Hyundai, Toyota, they are strong still today. They are strong advocates of fuel cell. Okay, even like all of them, they are selling in a fuel cell vehicle. If you think about the US, we cannot think about the India in today's date, but they are all of them, they are selling a fuel cell vehicles in US. And note this, that the Honda and Toyota, they are not even offer a true electric model or true battery electric model in the US. They might be offering in other countries, but in US, they are not even offering the battery electric vehicle. Okay, they are still pushing the fuel cell electric vehicles. Similarly, the countries like Japan, they are giving you higher subsidies on fuel cell electric vehicles. They are pushing the fuel cell. If you have heard about the Japan Olympics, like they had these fuel cell powered buses, shuttle buses. Okay, so that is what Japan is doing, and you have 160 fuels. They are thinking of coming up with 160 fueling station. It is an island. Japan is an island, so they can think of, because now you have to think more about. Soon I will be painting this picture that it is more about the customer needs. So Japan is only an island. So if they have 160 fueling station all around, then there is they are done with the infrastructure. What is one of the shortcomings with the fuel cell electric vehicles? They are done with that. So that is what they are actually doing. And at the end of 2021, they are thinking of that we have a fleet of 40,000 fuel cell electric vehicles. And they are actually starting the mass production of Toyota Mirai. That is the only fuel cell electric vehicles currently in mass production. So why then these like the fuel cell electric vehicles are pushed on? That the first reason I already summarized here, that it depends on your needs. It depends on your demography, where you are. Okay. Second thing, it depends on your need, whether you have a passenger car, or sooner we will be painting this picture, whether you have a heavy transport vehicle. So that depends on. So these are the reasons that we are still looking, or we are still pushing the fuel cell electric vehicles. The first important is definitely the range and refueling time. And when you have this, so hydrogen definitely, like, it has a future, right? Maybe not in the passenger cars, or but other application, like it is suitable definitely for all vehicles here, because if you have the heavy duty vehicles, what happens there, the energy consumption per kilometer will be much higher. So for a passenger car, maybe I'll be writing here some figures. For a passenger car, maybe you have this figure, maybe, okay, sorry. For a passenger car, you have maybe 150 watt hour per kilometer it consumes. But if you think of a heavy duty like a truck, maybe approximately, and these are the approximate figure, you'll be consuming 2000 watt hour per kilometer. Okay, so if a car, if a battery is driving this passenger car, this is a passenger car. So if a battery is driving this passenger car for maybe 150 kilometers, it might only drive maybe 30 kilometers for this heavy duty vehicle. So then, will we be putting more on batteries? No, that cannot be solution, right? We will be seeing that. So these are the basic reasons why still like we are still optimal about the fuel cell electric vehicles. Okay, there are studies that are showing that if you think of the infrastructure cost, if you think in the longer term, it might be not so expensive as compared to the if you are pushing the battery electric vehicles, because here also a lot of infrastructure will be required. Then renewable energy is increasing day by day. So maybe the efficiency issues is sorted out automatically, that we have a surplus of renewable energy, right? So in that case, maybe the efficiency is just null and void. We don't just care about the efficiency because we have a lot of renewable energy. And if we can overcome the other efficiency limiting steps like electrolysis and the compression and liquefaction of hydrogen, maybe we can again push the hydrogen electric vehicles. So that is all we have to take in picture. But the most important, as I said, is the range and refueling time. So how the range of this fuel cell electric vehicle is higher, why it is higher. So let's dig a little bit deeper. So that comes, I think, from the energy density. Initially we have talked about a similar kind of figure, that on the fuel cell we have energy density on the range of 1000, whereas in the batteries we have only in the range of maybe around 100. So that is the most important figure where fuel cell scores better as compared to batteries. The same is reflected if I show you the next picture, then the same is reflected here. So you can see that for a lithium ion vehicle, that the energy density, that is around 100 and 150 watt hour per kg. But fuel cell vehicle, even you take previously people were discussing only about the hydrogen, and the argument comes that you did not take the fuel cell in the picture. But even if you take fuel cell in the picture, then also the specific energy of the whole system is much higher, or it is almost, you can think of around 5 times higher than the lithium ion systems. So number behind hydrogens are really compelling. 1 kg of hydrogen, it can contain approximately 33 kilowatt of usable energy, and that is like approximately you can think of around 3 times of petrol and diesel. And if you compare about the batteries, the numbers are quite astonishing. I can write these numbers for batteries. You have 150 watt hour per kg for the simply batteries, but hydrogen, if you think of, then we know that it is 33 kilowatt hour per kg. So if you take the watt hours, it becomes 33,000 watt hour per kg. So that is how hydrogen is. It is a energy dense like media for the transportation or for the transfer of energy. So that is where the hydrogen fuel cell, we can think of that they will score better than battery electric vehicles. The same again, I'm painting another picture of the similar kind. So when it comes to the onboard storage of energy, definitely hydrogen has the advantage. Okay, and energy storage in battery will require many more batteries if you go for if you want to go for any extra mile, then you have to add another battery, right? You can see here that if this is data is taken for a 5 sorry, I couldn't put the reference. I'll put the reference when I supply these slides to you. So the battery weight, the weight of the battery or the lithium ion battery electric vehicle, it is going to increase if you are going for more and more miles. Okay, so generally if you go in the market and if you buy a vehicle, probably it will be below 1500 kg. Okay, so because other things also comes in picture, the aerodynamics and the power consumed. If you have a higher weight of your system, then you will be consuming more and more power, so it will not be so efficient. So that's what I said when I was talking about wheel to wheel efficiency. that lithium ion battery looks very good when we think of on the paper in terms of efficiency. But here, if I have a lithium ion battery for, let's say, 250 range of miles, okay, then the weight will be 2000 kg. So to drive this vehicle, definitely the power consumed will be much more as compared to the fuel cell, which is like it will be more or less similar, less than what is the current specs of internal combustion engine, that is around 1500 kg. So that's where again we want to emphasize on the advantage of fuel cell electric vehicle. So just taking a sip of water. So the extra weight to increase the range of fuel cell, it is just almost negligible. When we have a fuel cell electric vehicles, we can the extra weight we need to increase the range of range, it is negligible almost. If we go for a battery electric vehicle, that will escalate dramatically. We have seen this, right? Mostly we can think of like if we are in the range of if we are ranging below 150 miles, maybe we can think of the battery electric vehicles. Okay, so here it gives us answer that if we are thinking of only range of 150 miles or below than that, maybe as of this time, the battery vehicles, they have the edge over the fuel cell, and that's what we can see in the market also, right? The fuels, the battery electric vehicles, they are cheaper, they have the infrastructure, right? Because of all them, we can see the more and more models coming up. But what happens if we think of these vehicles which actually consumes more power? That's what I already put these figures in the previous slide, that this kind of vehicle will only consume 150 watt-hour per kilometer, but here it will consume 2000 watt-hour per kilometer. So energy consumption is much higher here, okay, per kilometer energy consumption. So if I have a particular just wait a minute. Okay, it comes up. So if I have a battery of a particular watt-hour capacity, okay, some particular kilowatt-hour capacity, okay, then maybe this, for example, maybe this is driving for 200 kilometers. It is sufficient to drive this for 200 kilometers. So we can think of how much we will need. If I want to drive this vehicle for 200 kilometers, I will be needing around this much watt-hour. So around 30, and then it is 30 kilowatt-hour. So basically I will be needing 30 kilowatt-hour. So if I have this 30 kilowatt-hour for a battery for this system, how much distance it can travel here? 30,000 divided by 2000. So you can think of only 15 kilometers. So the same battery that was driving this vehicle for 200 kilometers, it can drive this vehicle only for 15 kilometers. Okay, so that is where the fuel cell scores better than the batteries. So heavy duty transport, that is what we will be calling it. So we know that the movement of goods via trucks is increasing, and by 2040 is that there are some figures here that it will increase by 45%. And if it increase by 45%, we can think of that how air pollution and greenhouse gas emissions, they are going to, like, what level it will be. And the highest contributor, they are currently that heavy duty vehicles, they are the highest contributor for the street level pollution. Only there are 2% vehicles, but they are responsible of 23% of the emissions. And they are also the major oil consumers, the oil that is being consumed by them. So in the transportation, we are always thinking only about the passengers vehicles. We were never thinking of these heavy duty vehicles. So here maybe we can have some venues for the fuel cell. For the passenger cars, we have concluded that maybe the batteries are the way to go. But what about the heavy duty transport? That's where maybe fuel cell can score better. So we have to think about this. So batteries, they will be not ideal for heavy duty truck application. Why? The first is the recharging time. Okay, recharging time, definitely it is a handicap. If you have a battery only solution, it will be a handicap for them. it will take much more time, as simply that if a truck is if you are out of the fuel, you will simply go to the filling station and you will refuel it. But for battery, you have to put this heavy duty vehicle out of the service. And if you put this heavy duty vehicle out of the service, it is not on the road. One thing it is doing that you are delaying the delivery of the product, and second, you are not generating any revenue. Okay. Passengers e-car you can charge on at your home, you are safe, that is okay. In the night you can charge. But here these kind of vehicles, they are always on the run. So when they are always on the run, then you cannot afford them to stop for the charging. Okay. And as the batteries become larger to the to power the vehicle, the size also increases, right? We have talked about that larger batteries will be required for them. So huge battery packs will be required. So their size will be increasing. So if you think of if I ever there is a limited space here on the vehicle. So if I put more and more on batteries on it, where will I put the payload that I'm transporting the goods from one place to another place? So where I'll be putting those goods, right? So this is like a chicken kind of a chicken and egg situation. Okay, if you want to transport more of goods or heavy loads, then you need the larger batteries. But the larger batteries, you don't have the space, or again the load on your vehicle is going to increase. So that kind of situation here when we have a battery powered heavy duty transport. But if you think about the fuel cell transport, although we know that it has not taken up for the passenger car, but it might have the potential for the heavy duty transport. Okay, so in a fuel cell vehicle, just in a truck, what we can do, we can replace the diesel engine with the fuel cell hybrid system. Again, I was talking about like when we were having this powertrains for the fuel cell and batteries, we have said that it will be a hybrid system. You will be needing the batteries. Okay, so this hybrid structure can maximize the benefit and the performance of for the fuel cell in this heavy duty application. Okay, so we know that the 1 kilogram of hydrogen that has the same energy density as compared to the 1 gallon of diesel, or it has the 3 times if you think in terms of liters. So this lighter weight, this contributes to solving the range and the heavy load issues. Okay, now we can if this is a fuel cell powered vehicle, this heavy duty transport vehicle, then we can solve both the range issues, right? We have to go for a longer range, and another is we don't, if we are carrying more load, it's not the case that I have to carry more and more of weight, because there is I just need to fill the hydrogen, and hydrogen is a light compound. So that issues that we have with the batteries, that will not be here. And plus we have the quick refueling also. So overall, what is happening that fuel cell technology can enable this kind of heavy duty transport. Okay, and the reason we have already listed, one is maybe the quickly refueling, right? It does not take much time to refuel it, and if this downtime for refueling is much less, then we can save the money. Okay, and the trucks are not out of action for hours. Okay, and the second thing is we are not consuming a lot of space for the power source. In case of the batteries, a lot of space was consumed for the power source, but in this case that is not the issue. So most be utilized for carrying the load or carrying the goods. So on the similar line, actually what is happened, this kind of the example that it is shown in this picture, that the companies they are coming with their demo models for heavy duty transport. So this model is powered by a Ballard fuel cell model. Ballard is the most one of the renowned company in the case of fuel cells. So other applications, we can also think of the fuel cell where maybe the batteries might not be suitable. That aircrafts, right? Here we are carrying the we are going for a longer range, right? We need more of energy stored on on board. Basically on board we need more of energy stored, so we cannot put more of energy with the batteries, because then what is going to happen, that the load or the weight of the dead weight is going to increase on our application. So this point about the larger fat and larger battery, this can also be applied to these marine and aerospace application. Hydrogen is a light and energy dense fuel, so the amount of the cargo that can be carried in relation to the vehicle's full weight or fuel weight, it is much greater than that of a battery electric system of similar weight. Also, fuel cell allows for the availability of the maximum power at all times, right? As long as you supply the fuel cell, it allows the availability of maximum power. But in case of battery, what is happening? It depends on the state of charge. When the battery is the maximum charged, then the power is the highest. But as the battery is getting discharged, the power that you can get from the battery, that is going to decrease. So even in like the companies like these companies like Airbus and Boeing, they are coming up with the concept of aeroplanes or aircraft with the fuel cell. They have even operated they were a small aircraft, but they have started operating it, and already they have conceptualized that hydrogen fueled airliners also. Airbus is coming up with them, so they are planning with 400 passengers for 1,000 nautical miles. So this kind of investigation or research is on the way. So another good application is like when we are thinking of stationary power generation. So in the stationary power generation, if I want to create a storage of energy, then if buying the batteries, it will be very expensive for us. Rather, you can simply buy a fuel cell, and that can be stored easily. That will be cheaper as compared to buying a lot of batteries, right? Because here you will be simply buying a fuel cell stack, and if you want to store more and more energy, only the size of the tank is growing. So that kind of advantage we have for other application of fuel cell. So now the question comes, I think the similar questions were that, are they rivals? Are they rivals? So first of all, definitely they are. We are seeing them as a competing technologies, but actually what is they are doing in the today's world, they are actually coming together. They are actually working together to bring more options to the transportation and power landscape. Okay, they are coming up with more and more options. We are coming up. At this point, definitely the battery electric vehicles is the technology that many of you know, or you have seen, you love them. But fuel cell systems, definitely they can enhance the performance of the batteries. They can allow them to address the issues of distance and refueling time. And there are some applications where these issues actually prohibited the adoption of battery electric vehicles, like the heavy duty transport and aircraft applications. So here the fuel cells can definitely help us to go zero emissions. Okay. But no matter what kind of application it is, battery system will always remain an essential piece of whatever solution we are providing. And the batteries will not be on this end, at least on this end, the battery will not be replaced by fuel cells. They can be just enhanced by the fuel cell. So while each system, they have their own advantages, they have their own challenges. Combining both of them, that can help us actually to reduce the overall carbon and increase adoption of sustainable power without compromising the performance. So ultimately, it is not the case of superiority. It's not a matter of which technology is better, but rather the question should be what is more suitable to my condition. If you take the case of Japan, what is more suitable to my condition? What are my needs? I have to figure out. So that only I can figure out that which system would be better suitable for me. So battery is definitely, if you have a low to medium DT, you can think of battery. But if we are thinking of heavy duty applications, for example, if you have long distance and heavy payloads, in case of truck transport or the aircraft transport, definitely the fuel cells are the way to go. So anyways, now we have come up with a summary, but now we have to think of what are the challenges for both the technologies ahead. So continued, first of all, we have the continued evolution of the infrastructure is required. That will play an important role in the selection of the right powertrain. Okay, which one is like evolving better? We can think of that power source for our applications. For batteries, we have to definitely think power charging solutions like megawatt level charging, so that they can reduce the charging time from hours to minutes. Similarly, for fuel cells, we have to work on the availability and distribution of hydrogen, right? So that is continued growth and availability or distribution of hydrogen will reduce the challenges that are associated with hydrogen fuel cost, right? We have we have talked about it, that they are the efficiency limiting steps there. So that is another point of it. And most importantly, for both the system, because one side, as of now, we are using for batteries, we need lithium metal. That is also kind of we have limited reserve for them. Similarly, for the fuel cells, the platinum is the most used catalyst. So that is also we have limited reserves for them. So in the longer term, we have to ensure their availability for both the critical elements in batteries and fuel cells. Moreover, the most important is now is the recycling. You have the batteries, you have the fuel cell electric vehicles. How we can think of recycling them? Because both of them, as we have said that lithium and platinum, they are limited. They might be carcinogenic also. So we have to think of them. We have to think of their recycling. We have to think of developing second life opportunities of these systems. And that is basically essential if you think in the longer term of these applications. So here I comes to the end of this presentation. I think right, this is the time for question answer. We can take few questions and can address them. Amit.
Thank you, Ashwini. It was really nice of you that you finally summed it up really well, saying that they are not rivals. They are they are the technologies that should go hand in hand.
Exactly. That is my point. They have to go in hand. They are basically, if we are imagining a zero pollution world or zero emission world, they are like they are holding each other's hand. Okay.
That's true. That's correct. So now the session is open for question answers. We can take few questions.
Hi, Ashwini Kumar. This is Dr. Arun Kumar.
So, yes.
Yeah, a very good presentation. So actually, you compared the fuel cell vehicle and the battery vehicle. Do you remember the Toyota Camry and the Mirai?
Yeah, Mirai.
Can
Toyota
you go to the slide?
No, the Toyota Camry is the I think the diesel or petrol powered vehicle.
Yeah.
And Toyota Mirai is fuel cell powered vehicle.
Yeah, because Mirai is a hydrogen based fuel cell electric vehicle.
Right,
and Camry is not a pure battery vehicle. It is a hybrid vehicle.
No, Camry comes in both versions, I think. It is
Camry comes under both versions of IC engine and IC engine battery.
Yeah, exactly.
So like similar to the Toyota Prius, no? So
exactly.
Yeah. Right. So that's what I want to highlight. You told the cost is from $25,000 and the cost of Toyota Mirai is around $60,000, isn't it?
Yeah.
But actually, it will be better if you compare Mirai with Tesla, because Mirai is a more fuel cell vehicle, and Tesla is pure battery vehicle. At that case, Tesla cost the basic version of Tesla cost $80,000. So still fuel cell vehicle is cheaper than a Tesla models basic electric vehicle version. So I want to highlight that. Okay. So fuel cells are very expensive, as we think.
I'll come to this question. So now you are thinking of the premium vehicles. You know that vehicle cost will go with the even if I go today buy an IC vehicle, it will not be the same cost.
Yeah. No. What I'm saying, the Tesla cost, it goes up to $120,000.
Yeah, because you are thinking of the premium electric vehicle.
Not the premium. No, I'm not talking about the premium. Normally it's around 70 to 80,000. No, the normal Toyota, the Tesla vehicles, they cost 60 to 70,000.
I agree with the cost of Tesla.
Yeah.
What I want to say is very simple, that it depends on how much luxury you want.
Yeah. That makes sense. Yeah.
That is the case. So if you go in the market, even in India today, you can definitely buy an battery electric vehicle, right?
Yes, yes.
That will be not so like as of now. Maybe in India, I think the no fuel cell electric vehicle is available, but this is in our reach. You can buy, actually you can think of buying it.
Yes, yes,
Okay.
yes.
And the same is the case in US also, that cheaper version of battery electric vehicles are available. Okay. You let us take it from the same manufacturer, because if you change the manufacturer or you change the luxury level, then definitely the conclusions might be different.
Yes,
Okay.
yes. Yeah.
So overall, you can think of, I will summarize in this way, that the battery electric vehicles are in customers' reach. Okay.
No,
At least,
actually, what I
to
wish
some
to
degree,
say is,
you cannot consider the luxury.
yeah. No. What I wish to say is, the fuel cell vehicles are coming very cost effectiveness. Okay, so soon they can match, or they can be much cheaper than the than the existing battery vehicles or the IC vehicles, because any new technology in the beginning is very expensive. So what
Yeah,
I would
batteries,
say, moreover, the
batteries are also, you are also
hydrogen
progressing on this.
Yeah.
On this level, right? Their costs are also coming down. So you can think, you cannot think of कि आज इतना है तो the next day it will also come down. So now both of them are new, and as of now, like I like personally, I see that it is in. I will not go with the figures, but I'll say that it is in customers' reach.
That's true. That's true. Yeah. Exactly. And also one more thing regarding that energy, that energy thing, that 5,000 psi, there's a thing you.
Yeah.
5,000 and 10,000 psi. Actually, those much, that's such a high pressure. Still, it will be not feasible with at least for the Indian market, because to have such a high pressure hydrogen system, it's not easy
Yeah.
thing. Yeah. That
Definitely.
also I want to highlight.
So with that slide, actually, it was not our objective that what is the practicality of that, but more on the energy density. So even if, let me go back to that slide, probably that may clarify you. So here what we are doing, we are comparing the because as you are saying that over the time the research is taking place, and good storage devices are coming for hydrogen, right? Maybe in the compressed tank or compressed form or liquefied form, they are coming up. Okay.
Yeah, I presume you referred the U.S. Department of Energy, no? This slide, the U.S. Department of Energy or National Renewable Energy Lab.
Yeah, I referred on some slides. I think many slides I have referred them. Can you specify?
Yeah, that's what I was able to observe, because these data, I think, even the energy density or the specific energy, I think it's quite old data. Because
this is a quite old data, maybe, but even if you see that for lithium, so for lithium ion, I know that this is for sure that we are still in the range of 100 to 200 range. We are still in the same range. Okay, so definitely the fuel cells scores much higher.
There's no doubt in that. Yeah, sure. Ashwini Sharma, I have one more thing. I'm just wondering if you can answer. What do you think of nickel metal hydride batteries? Because nickel metal hydride has been used for a long time in the Toyota Prius, Toyota Prius vehicle. So is there any scope? No, because for those who are looking for an alternative to lithium ion, will lithium metal hydride be a better candidate? And do you have any idea about the nickel metal?
I think answer is in front of you. If you are seeing the screen, answer is in front of you. So I just don't want to comment much on this. That
no, I'm just wondering whether if India has some good source of this nickel metal hydride. That's what resource perspective.
If you have attended Prof. Yogesh presentation?
No, I was due to the cyclone. I couldn't attend that. Yeah.
So again, nickel is, I don't think. So you are now talking about more about what is available in our country, right? So
our country. Yeah.
Yeah, definitely lithium is not available in our country, and in that presentation, he was talking about. He was like concept. We have sodium ion batteries.
Sodium ion, yeah. That presentation I attended. Yeah, he was
So,
that about sodium ion. I attended. Yeah.
So in India's context,
Yeah,
maybe lithium ion may not be the solution for longer terms.
Yes,
For the
because
shorter terms,
depend on
we can think of-
China. Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
Thanks, Ashwini. Very good presentation.
Yeah, thank you very much.
Thank you.
Yes, any more questions?
Sir, exactly what is the way forward? Exactly, is there any action plan for implementing in India such pro and cons? But any action plan or government of India initiative or at least some action, because all things are going on research area. So in India, what is the broader? This is a topic is very broader. So any action plan is going on in great level, like suppose in Ministry of Renewable Energy. Any action plan in your idea?
Okay.
That is for my awareness. That's why I read this question.
So I'll speak on this. Like you can think of like definitely on the research level, the government is pushing more funds on the both fuel cell and batteries. That is like visible. Even if you read the Niti Aayog's documents, you can see that this is one of their prime area or prime focus. Okay, so a lot of funds are being pumped up, whether it is through the Ministry of Energy or through Department of Science and Technology or other funding agencies. Moreover, the government is what it is trying to do, like subsidies. So that is what you can do, because you have to change the customer's perspective toward whenever a new technology comes in the market and it is expensive. You have to, when you want to bring it to the level of existing technology, the government, what it can do is, the first thing it can do is providing the subsidy. So that's how you can bring it to the reach of the customers. That's what I was talking about. You can bring it to the reach of the customer. Moreover, we have to definitely what we are doing now, that we are making aware the people about what are like harmful and harmfulness of the, if we continue with the fossil fuels. So that is what one awareness I think definitely government is creating, maybe through these kind of workshops or maybe other kind of programs. That is definitely being done on their end. And the most importantly, if you have heard about now they are thinking of making the public transport, because that's what is in the public government's hand directly. We cannot think of the passenger transportation or the passenger car are in the hands of the government directly. So what they are doing there is they are thinking of converting the public transportation at least into like fuel cell or electric vehicle or battery powered electric vehicles. So that's where you can, I think you can definitely surf on the internet and you can read off some news from maybe from Delhi and all other states might also you can find out. Okay, so that is what I think the government is doing on their end, but definitely more push is required. But we have to think of again what is more suitable for our country. So lithium-ion battery might not be the solution for our country in the longer terms. That is what when I was discussing with Yogesh also, I figured out this and also not only the availability of lithium, but cost and then the carcinogenic nature of this, that might be the issues. So what government, if you are reading on the public transportation, they are thinking of more of the fuel cell. Okay, because again here you will not be having the range issues and the refueling issues. Okay, so that is all I would like to elaborate on your question.
But some people are saying that lithium ion is the future, like that. I've attended some webinar recently on e-mobility.
Yes. Okay, so you have to see how much lithium actually we have in India. Okay, or if you see in the overall world also, if you project it, what we have to do, you have to do a simple calculation. I don't have that calculation handy in my hand, but you assume that all the vehicles today, they are converted into lithium-ion battery vehicles. Okay, assume. Okay, then you calculate that how much lithium will be required. Okay, and you see that whether this much lithium we already have available or it not. Okay, so that might answer your question automatically. Okay, I will not. Right. So we have to definitely add, as of today, you can think of that lithium-ion battery vehicles are in our reach, but in longer term, we need a more sustainable solution probably. So battery powered vehicles and lithium-ion battery powered vehicle, they are two different subjects. Okay. If you are talking about the batteries, like battery powered vehicles, we have some other batteries that are also coming up, and maybe they can catch up with the lithium-ion batteries, and we might have sustainable solutions. But as of now, what we are learning when we are pushing the lithium-ion in the market, we are lot of learning outcomes we are getting. When the electric vehicles are on the road, people are driving them, we are getting the feedback, and that feedback we can definitely that can definitely help in our future when we have newer technologies of batteries. Okay.
Sir, nicely, sir. Well explained and great talk. We
Thank
learned
you.
some new things.
Yeah, thanks a lot.
Any more questions would like to ask any participants?
So, hello.
Yeah.
Yeah. My question is regarding your for the automotive application, while we are using the fuel cell vehicles, it is mentioned that the overall efficiency will be around 25 to 35%, and mainly this is because we need to do the energy consumption goes for the electrolysis for production of hydrogen. So meantime, you on the later part of the presentation mentioned about for heavy duty applications, marine trucks, all those things, we can go for this fuel cells. So I feel like for that case, we need not have to go for PEM type. We can go for high temperature fuel cells, and we can go for multiple fuels, right? So this is not required there, this sort of electrolysis. We can go for, and yeah. So efficiency level also will be very high.
I'll comment on this. So definitely, if you go for high temperature fuel cells and solid oxide fuel cell, maybe the thermal management issues you overcome, right? That's what you want to point out?
Actually, no, for the SOFCs, we can have multi-fuel options rather than pure hydrogen. It can reform internally, methane, all those things. Yeah.
Okay. But if you, let's say you are thinking of these multi-fuel options, then what is happening? First of all, it will not be a completely clean energy, right? It will not be completely zero emission. Okay. And the second thing is the energy density. Hydrogen energy density, nobody can, no other fuel can compete with. It is the lightest fuel, right? So there, hydrogen will definitely will be scoring much higher as compared to these. If you are thinking of like putting any hydrocarbon fuel in the SOFC. So here we have to like weigh the options. What are our options? So two things. Again, I am summarizing. The first is it is if you use an SOFC with another fossil fuel, okay, then it is not a completely zero emission. Okay, you will be emitting the CO2 and other things maybe to the atmosphere. And the second is the energy density. Does that answer your question?
Suppose we are having from renewable energy fuels like say compressed biogas sort of thing. That is from renewable energy. That will be having a major constituent like methane.
Yes.
And I think then it will be better because methane, if we look into that for hydrogen, it is the very lightest gas also. So storage wise will be this will be better, like if it is methane sort of thing. And I think like each methane will give, while reforming some like a dry reforming or rest, I think 2 or 3 moles of hydrogen will be generated from one methane. So in that way, it will be better.
You are right. If the methane is coming from like from the renewable sources you are talking about.
Yeah,
right?
yeah.
So then
Yes,
definitely, like if it is coming from renewable energy, right, you are thinking that it is sustainable, like the emissions are again coming, they are taking a loop. So the overall in the life cycle, there is kind of zero emissions, right? But here maybe the only point is, the first point is the energy density, and the other point is like we have to think of these renewable sources that you are talking about for the methane and other things. They have their own challenges. They have their own requirements. So we have to also think about that. We need to build another infrastructure for those biofuels? Okay, so like we are thinking of two separate infrastructure, because when you are thinking of these biofuels or other renewables fuels, you will definitely need a lot of infrastructure available for them also. So I am not advocating any of them, but rather I am throwing light on their what challenges lies ahead. Okay, so that is what from the submission from my side.
Okay, sir. Okay, and just one more question. Like, I think in the biogas stream, compressed biogas, that scheme is something which is coming newly from the government side, and IIT Delhi is having this. There is a like what I say, biomethane enriched biogas, which is having almost CNG composition, and they are running a vehicle also inside the campus, compressed biogas, which is having more than 90% methane. So, similarly, my question is, in the automotive sector, is it possible, automobile sector, we need always PEM type fuel cell, because high temperature, the startup time is very high. PEM is like comparatively quickly slow.
Yeah,
So,
comparatively.
yeah, but the thing is, instead of using hydrogen, is it possible to attach a reforming unit inside, reform this methane into hydrogen and utilize it within the vehicle itself? Is it practically feasible?
No, but again, what we are doing, we are not obviating, like we are not going away with the infrastructure required for producing that methane. That is still required. And most of the renewable energy that you are thinking in today's world, that is coming in the form of electricity, whether you think of the solar or where you think of wind, right? So hydrogen is basically a carrier of energy. We are using this as a carrier of energy, because we know that water is available in abundant amount, and you can convert that water into hydrogen, and then you can transport that energy, that renewable energy, from one place to another place. So two completely different philosophies are here. Here, when you are thinking from the solar energy and wind energy, and the other renewable energy you are talking about from the biofuels. So that is completely different philosophies applies for both of them. Okay, and I think you agree with me that most of the renewable energy that you see today, okay, that is coming from solar and wind.
Yes, of course.
Okay. Yeah. So should I convert them in methane, or should I directly convert into hydrogen? That is like, obviously the answer is hydrogen, that I can convert that into hydrogen or directly electricity, right? That is one option.
Okay, fine.
So that's where I think the fuel cell has the chance. So basically hydrogen economy we are visualizing using the renewable energy.
Okay. Thank you.
Thank you.
And thank you for a nice explanation about the differentiation between energy density and power density, which is always confusing. With a simple
it is always confusing. Yeah, you have to understand what is energy and what is power.
Yeah,
okay.
With a simple example, you have clearly explained it.
Yeah. So again, I'll clarify this to you, that when you have even a fuel cell powered vehicle, energy battery will be an integral part of that vehicle. Given the reason is battery has a better power density, so if you need a sudden acceleration, the batteries can help you. Okay.
Yeah, of course.
Yeah.
Okay, sir. Thank you so much.
Thank you very much.
Any more questions, or if not, then
Sir,
yes.
Sir, can we receive this PDF files? Exactly, the presentation is extremely well, so that providing at least well articulate. Video recording are getting, but at least the presentation is very well.
I'll definitely share this presentation with the audience, surely. Are we connected?
Yes,
Amit?
Ashwini. Yes, thanks a lot. I mean, the timing of this presentation was really nice. Like we learned about fuel cells, then we also had a look about at batteries and different models, different types. And now it was very right time that we brought these two technologies on the same platform, and then we have summarized like which technology would be better in which situation. So that way, it was really nice that we brought this, this topic, particularly comparing these two technologies at this point of time. Thank you so much for enlightening all of us with this comparison. And thank you very much again. Thanks a lot.
All thanks to you for providing us this opportunity to bringing this audience and me together. Thanks a lot, and had very nice questions actually from all of the audience. Whatever the questions come, that was really like you have to definitely think about those questions. So thank you for all the attendees.
Yes, thank you everyone as well for those nice questions. Because they try to be on the practical side. Although we do lots of research, all of us are researchers in a way to some extent, but ultimately we have to think about the practical applications as well. Thank you so much. I have a couple of announcements to make. So tomorrow we will have the last day. We'll have 2 sessions in the first half. That is
Amit,
at 9.
Amit, I'll interrupt you.
Yes, please go ahead.
Can I disconnect because I have another meeting?
Yes, please. Not a problem.
Okay. Thank you very much.